Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fourth class. So today, the fourth class of occult herbalism.
Hello to everybody who's joining in today.
Hello.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me well today? Maybe I have the headphones, so is that better?
Yeah, you sound great. Yeah, sound really clear. How are we all? Happy Friday.
Hello, everybody. I'm saying hi to all the people that is joining in today. I was saying, is it our fifth? No, it's our fourth lesson today. We're going to be talking a little bit about health today, the elements in health.
And Ayurveda, which is a very exciting subject. We've got one more after this, which is the elements in the body, which is drawing on everything and kind of looking at the body and the self, and talking a little bit about tarot. Should be fun.
Yes, next time we have that session, elements in the body, and we're going to be able to find actually the elements in the body. But today we're going to focus a little more specifically in Ayurveda and how the elements develop something similar than in alchemy, which was the four elements developed the three alchemical principles. Well, in this case, the combination of the four elements develops or gives birth to the three doshas. We're going to see what a dosha is and etc. But maybe we can start with a little introduction.
Yes, definitely.
Should I start?
Yeah, why don't you start this time?
Well, I am Luciana Berchi. You can find me in lucianaberchi.holistic here on Instagram, or if you are in YouTube as Luciana Berchi Holistic too. And I share knowledge about health, holistic health, and I base my work in the pillars of yoga, Ayurveda, and alchemy. I treat patients in personalized sessions where we explore your health or your particular problematic through the lens of Ayurveda, alchemy, and yoga. And also I teach an alchemy course, which is a 4 levels course, so it's really complete and thorough. And that's where we learn how to make elixirs and alchemical tinctures and all the alchemical process, which is, after all, a process of transformation. So all my work is based on trying to transform our health and the bound that we have with our own health, the responsibility on our own health. So you're welcome to join me, follow this account, follow me on Instagram and on YouTube, and you can see all my work.
And there's not an awful lot of people that run kind of alchemical workshops or classes, so definitely check that out as a complete bystander, maybe a slightly biased bystander, but if you are interested in alchemy, definitely check it out, because there's not an awful lot of it.
Mostly here in the UK, I have actually been looking for colleagues and stuff and can't find a lot, really.
Yeah, I'm normally a rare one. Every single time I talk about it, people say, "Is that where can I find this?" And I'm like, not very easily.
Absolutely.
So yes, anyway, so introducing me, I'm Paul. I am the witch behind Modern Witchery on Instagram and Let's Talk Tarot on YouTube, as well as Modern Witchery on Patreon, which is a little bubbling hub community. So I became involved in the local pagan scene at a very young age, and later trained in Wicca. And ran my own coven for a number of years. I'm quite a passionate person about herbalism and plants, and that led me to teaching occult herbalism or esoteric herbalism in London. And then I ran a herbal company making up historical, spiritual products, including like incenses, as well as kind of perfumes and interesting things like that. My background, I trained as a psychotherapist, and I strangely hold a degree in clinical hypnotherapy. Currently, my work revolves around tarot and spiritual guidance sessions. I can be found on Instagram at modern.witchery and on YouTube on Let's Talk Tarot. And for those any of you that would fancy a reading or a chat, feel free to drop me a message either on my Instagram or on my email, mw for modern witchery, _witchcraft@gmail.com. So now that's done, now the nitty gritty is done, we're getting better at that. I think we're getting quicker. We are talking about Ayurveda, something that I know a little bit about from kind of my background in yoga, but you know an extraordinary amount because you've done courses and all sorts in it. So I am joining you guys listening today of kind of learning as much as I can from Luciana, and we will be asking questions as we go. So feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and we will try to get as many of them as answered as possible. Because once again, Ayurveda is something that's not generally talked about and not easy to find.
Absolutely, yeah. Here we have people saying hi. Hola, Lu. Hola. I hope you can follow us. Yeah, I hope you can follow us. My Spanish-speaking audience can follow these chats. This is going to be recorded. This is going to go to IGTV, así que sí, va a quedar grabado, va a IGTV y también a YouTube. Los vamos a tener después los videos en YouTube, así que sí, lo pueden mirar más tarde. I encourage you to do questions like Paul was saying, because it's a very interesting topic. Ayurveda is a very interesting topic, and it has to do a lot with our lifestyle. So mostly Ayurveda, yeah.
And it's one of those things that's so intrinsically tied up in lifestyle rather than medicine as well, isn't it? It's something that's really tied up in food and how you live your life and your exercise. So it's one of those kind of key core principles to definitely understand, isn't it?
Yeah, and most people know Ayurveda or get to Ayurveda through the food, and most people think it's a way of a diet or a way of eating, but actually Ayurveda is a whole sort of cosmovision, and it's a whole practice that involves, actually the word Ayurveda, the root Ayur is life, and Veda is knowledge, or the Vedas were the wise men of Hinduism. So Ayurveda actually means the science of life or the knowledge of life. So it's very holistic in that aspect, because it takes health from different aspects, from the way we eat, but also from the phytomedicine. Medicine with herbs, medicine with what we eat. And one of the mottos of Ayurveda is, let your medicine be your food and your food be your medicine. So we heal our bodies not with medicine, but with food, with what we ingest or what we stop ingesting, because it's an idea of start consuming what gives you life and stop consuming what is the poisons, right? So from Ayurveda also come all this list of the modern poisons, which is all the white and processed foods, the sugars, the carbohydrates like white flours. So it's all about what you should incorporate and what you should start sort of drifting away from in your habits. But it's not only what you eat, but also Ayurveda includes yoga. Yoga is one of the practices of Ayurveda, so it will also talk about the way we move, the way we relate with our bodies, but also about having a meditation routine, also about breathing, about the air. A lot of practices in Ayurveda are related with the correct way of breathing, which is also another way of feeding ourselves. So in this point, I will say that I want to sort of explain the concept of prana. Prana is the vital energy, is the energetic sort of food that our body needs, of fuel that our body needs to function. And prana, we take prana from different sources. So we take prana from the foods and the liquids that we ingest, but we also take prana from the air. There are parts of the world that are more pranic, they say, so they are more prana full, which is the places where there is running water, like rivers and forests, where there are a lot of trees and when there is not a lot of contamination in the top of the mountains. And this is why we always see the sages and the yoga practitioners sort of meditating in the top of the mountains, where the air is cleaner and there's more prana. Yeah. So the nature and the elements bring prana, which is very interesting. Because water, clean water brings prana, clean air brings prana. The fire is used to purify. That's why they use for some rituals, and from some purifying rituals they will burn incense or burn plants and use fire to sort of cleanse. So the elements, and
there's also a yoga practice, isn't there, that uses candle flame to purify the mind by kind of meditating on the candle flame.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing, isn't it? Using it to purify our sight.
Yes. Well, actually, yeah, connecting with the element of fire. Actually, the element of fire is related with the vision. So it's a very, it's obviously because the fire gives light, and with light you can see. So fire will expand your vision, but also in a metaphorical way. So it's used to open the vision, the more sort of pure vision or the superior vision. So yeah, it's used for that, and obviously earth, the element of earth, also brings us energy. This is why rooting and connecting with the element of earth also gives us strength. This is why it's good to be around trees too, not only for the oxygen and the clean air, but also because of the rooting energy, which is also cleansing for us, or being barefoot on the ground as often as we can to connect, to reboot our system. So
there is a question here. I think it's saying something like, do you consider Ayurveda a science?
Yes. She's asking how many energy centers or chakras does Ayurveda believe in. Well, there's energetic centers. There are a lot along the body. I think it's about 109 all over the body, but there are 7 main chakras or energy centers, which are along the spine, from the coccyx to the top, the crown of the head.
Crown.
The crown. But again, there are chakras situated in different parts of the body. Like, for example, the palms of the hands have their chakras too. This is why some healing techniques like Reiki go through the palms of the hands, because there are chakras there. They're all connected to the central chakras. But Ayurveda I will say that the chakra practice and etc. belong more to yoga and the practices of yoga. I would say that Ayurveda focuses in keeping and improving health. Ayurveda is about preserving the health in the body, or restoring health when it's lost. And the reason that this cosmology will say that disease or the losing of health appear is siete principales, yes, 7 main chakras. The reason why we sort of lose health is because of a sense of disconnection. So the first sign of disease is in the higher planes. So it's in the spiritual plane, where our spirit sort of even unconsciously believes that it's separated from the source. It's the separation from the source. And the more that separation persists, the more we are going to experience that disease in our bodies. So it's all about, the Ayurveda practice are all about, I think the main focus of the Ayurveda practices is to become aware again of the sense of connection with what surrounds us, connection with the surroundings, connection, spiritual connection, and the connection also to other beings in the earth. Because this connection is the main, and sort of this connection is the main cause of imbalance. So what we try to look for in Ayurveda is the reconnection with the cycles, reconnection with the seasons. This is why Ayurveda has seasonal practices, to sort of get in tune with the changes that the earth goes through in the different periods throughout the year. Reconnection with the way we eat, the way we prepare our foods, the way the source of our foods. Yes, so this is something that you may agree or not, but the source of the food for Ayurveda has to be sort of not causing pain to other beings. So it's because that's sort of transferred energetically. So it's also the ethics of the food. But obviously, nowadays in a modern life, we do as much as we can, because that ethics should be followed through all our life. So it's the ethic of our clothes, where they come from, the ethic of our food, the ethics of the products that we consume. And this is why, for example, I dedicated to natural cosmetics, to try to sort of have control of where the materials that I put in my body come from. That is something that I forgot to say, that I chose that path. But well, it's that sort of awareness in every aspect of our life. This is why Ayurveda is so broad and so big. But yeah, maybe we can start on, okay, so how does Ayurveda work, and how it considers the human biology, right? Ayurveda talks about 3 biotypes, which are the doshas. So the word dosha means sort of biotype, and it describes 3 different doshas with different characteristics. It's important to know that we all have all the doshas in ourselves, because the 3 doshas are a little bit like the 3 alchemical elements. So it will be the elements that sort of constitute everything that exists. This is why the doshas are not only in humans, but they're also in plants, and they are also in everything. So it's like the 3 characteristics that compose a being, every living thing. And so we have the 3 doshas, but each person will have a different proportion on those 3 doshas. So some people have more of one and a lot less of the other 2. Some have 2 predominant doshas, and some people actually have them pretty well balanced. Or that's also sort of the goal of Ayurveda, to sort of be able to balance the 3 doshas, so there's not a predominance of any of them, which could work against this search for equilibrium and balance. So there are 3 doshas that talk about the biotype and the body characteristics, but also there's the prana. So on one side there's 3 doshas, and there's also 3 pranas. The 3 pranas talk about the different personalities, emotionality, psychology traits, let's say. So it's about, as we said, prana is energy, prana is the ethereal. So the 3 pranas talk about 3 sort of psychological aspects. that sometimes cross. Well, they always cross. They always cross with the biotypes. So there are 3 biotypes and 3 types of prana. The 3 biotypes, so the 3 doshas, are vata, pitta, and kapha. Okay, before I continue, I'm going to see if there's another...
It's just someone saying that someone's leaving to go and have a lovely massage, which is lucky for them. And just double checking that it's being recorded. It is being recorded. It will be up on Instagram, TV, IGTV, as well as YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when we're talking about this also is that that balance changes, and you were kind of making a mention earlier about how Ayurveda kind of looks at the seasonal change and that kind of dosha balance would change during the times of year, because if it's hot outside, it's going to push you towards that heat a little bit more.
Yes, yeah, we can relate. We're going to relate. You sort of have to, it's good that we had all the previous classes, because then, and mostly with the meditation that we did last time, you can relate the seasons with elements, and then the elements with the doshas, so you can sort of see which one is going to spike in each season. But so there is this sort of seasonal balance of the doshas, and then the personal one. So if you know that you have a dosha in you that is more predominant, then you will know that in this season you might have an imbalance of that, because the whole surroundings are going to push that aspect of you. So to know what we're talking about when we say doshas, we have 3 doshas. 3 doshas that are called vata, pitta, and kapha. And they actually, Ayurveda talks about 5 elements. They talk about air, earth, fire, water, and also ether. So the 5th element is the ether, which is the one that gives space between things. So empty space is ether. So it's very related with the nervous system and the connections that the neurons do between them, because there has to be a space. It's like the black matter. It's like the black matter in the universe, where if there weren't that sort of canvas that is in the background, nothing could take place. It's like the intercellular space, for example, too. That is ether. Like the cells are floating about, and there's a media. There's a medium. Is it called
medium?
A medium. And that will be related with the element of ether. So it will give space. So taking into account these 5 elements and these 3 doshas, we're going to see that the first dosha we're going to talk about is vata. And vata is a dosha that comes from the combination of ether and air, right? The elements of ether and air conform vata. And we can start sort of feeling the type of body that will have a predominance of air and ether. It's obviously going to be a very light body, a very skinny body. It's a small complexion. It's people who are sometimes really tall or really small. They have this sort of long and tall and skinny, or really small and skinny. The air and the ether also give this sort of dry aspect to the complexion and to the body. So these people will present dry, for example, dry skin, very dry skin, dry hair. They will tend to get dry a lot. The skin, they don't have a lot of fat, like body fat, so the skin is going to be almost stuck to the bone. So usually the bones are very predominant. We can see the joints. They have really marked joints, tendons. The skin tends to be sometimes slightly darker, even if like they're not so pale. Even if they're white or whatever, they're slightly darker. And Yes, and they usually have like small eyes. Everything that is wet in them is going to be sort of shrunk. So it's going to have that aspect of dryness. So this is the biotype, right? This imbalance, the imbalance of this element of vata, so the imbalance of air and ether, since we said that ether is the space, the capacity from sort of taking distance to go slow, to meditate. So the imbalance of these elements will take to a very anxious character, to an anxious mind, to problems of the neuronal system and the nervous system. So it's common that these people could have problems like migraines or headaches, or problems like fibromyalgia. Is that the pronunciation? Fibromyalgia?
Yeah. Fibromyalgia.
Yeah, so all the self sort of psychosomatic diseases and illnesses, because there's always going to be the risk of sort of having this nervous system issues and problems. And what else about the physical appearance? What else can we say?
That's pretty good. I mean, that's everything that I can kind of think of. In terms of appetite, what you would kind of be up and down, like variable, kind of sporadic. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, the vata are people who will tend to always pay more attention to whatever task they're doing. These are very energetic people, but not energetic physically, but mentally. So there's a lot of mental activity. So this is the typical people who are at work, for example, and they can just forget that they have to eat, forget that they have to go to the bathroom, just forget for hours. So it's very common that these people just, this kind of people always skip the lunchtime or dinner time. They just skip it because they're more focused in the sort of mental production that they're doing than in, there's a disconnection with the functions of the body, really.
And they like routines, don't they? They're kind of a bit linked to the kind of Greek element of air, where they kind of like structure, and if they do it every day, is that right?
No, actually, they tend to be very erratic.
Okay.
Because it's that kind of electric sort of behavior.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're pretty erratic in their routines. Actually, routines really help them. If they could incorporate routines to their lives, that's something that balances vata. If they can have their lunch always at the same, every day at the same hour, and etc. The appetite is very, very small. Like they don't have a lot of appetite. Sometimes these people struggle eating, and mostly they have this when they're nervous, they can't eat. Their stomach just shrinks. The first thing that happens, the first thing that happens when they're stressed is that they can't eat. I have a lot of vata. I have a combination, but I have a lot of vata, and I totally relate with this. If I get nervous, I just can't eat, and if my mind is in something else, I can't eat. Whereas we're going to see that in other doshas like Pitta. Pitta is the opposite. If they have any problems, it's because they haven't eaten. Pitta is a little bit like that. They need their food to sort of root them and calm them down. Yeah. But with vata, what's missing in vata for these air and ether elements and this nervous system sort of affections, what they will have is they will tend to depression. So the emotion that this vata brings is depression. They are people who are focused in the future, like what's going to happen. So they're always thinking ahead. So they're always, instead of being present in the moment, they tend to jump to what comes next. They're very fast. So they will always be sort of jumping to the future. And then, well, about the appetite, the appetite is very small, and they have a really poor digestion too, and they tend to have dryness problems also in their digestive system. So they could get constipated because of dryness. And they have really they more than slow, because a slow digestion will be something more of kapha, which is the last one that we're going to see. Yeah, but they have this. They don't have the element of fire. So the fire is the element that helps breaking the foods down and incorporating the different nutrients. So if the fire is low, then the food is going to go in, and it's going to take really long to digest it, and they're going to sort of swell, and they're going to feel stomach aches and uncomfortable. That is something that happens. Excess of air is obviously too excess of gas, so they're going to get bloated. And there is the aim with this dosha is to try and lead up their fire, their digestive fire. So it's really good for them to eat spicy and warming foods and spices. Yeah, that is a very interesting part actually of the foods, because with Vata, they will prefer the flavors bitter and astringent. They prefer the flavors that are more like them. So if we're saying that they're sort of dry, well, they will like these astringent flavors and these bitter and even acidic flavors. So, but in Ayurveda, something happens that is we sort of like what we already have. So if we have a predominance of Vata, we will like this bitter and astringent flavors. But they actually work against us because they make us more Vata, and the other two get imbalanced. So in this case, for Vata, it will be good to eat everything that is very oily, so it's very wet and very moisturizing, and everything that is heating or warming, and also sweet. They also need to incorporate the sweet food. Usually a Vata person will be the kind of person that prefers the savory food and salty. Well, salty is more of Pitta, but Vata likes astringent and bitter.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about this dosha, obviously, is their creativity and their capacity for using their minds for creating. And they're very creative. So usually they're artists or writers, or they're really good with language too, because it's
of course, and an airy thing. And probably a bit dare I say kind of spiritual aspects because of the space, the expansion, the ether.
With the ether, they have they're very mercurial. They give me this image of Mercury because they have this capacity of really easy connection with the higher, connection with spirituality, connection with meditation. It's really easy for them to leave the earth. Yeah. This is why they're floating about.
Astral projection galore.
Exactly. They have to really root and ground themselves because it's really easy for them to leave Earth. And it actually is more easy and it's more comfortable for them to leave Earth than to try to connect. This is why they don't connect a lot with their body. So they need to incorporate a lot of massage and sort of feeling the body, practices that allows them to feel their body and to sort of experience the senses. Because they will experience everything through their minds if they could. So gotcha. I hope you can get like an image of and imagine a Vata person, and also recognize those parts of you if you feel like connected with these different aspects. So then we move on to Pitta. And the Pitta dosha is a combination of water and fire. So water and fire will give us Pitta. It's interesting because they're very opposite. right?
Yeah.
Fire and water are the opposite, because fire is dry and hot and water is cold and humid. So they have this dichotomy. So that already talks about the tension. And this is a fiery dosha, and it will tend, remember that we said the vata will tend to depression, then this dosha pitta, when it's imbalanced, it will tend to anger, to rage. So it will turn to, because it heats off, like the fire heats off. And so they're very temperamental, because we have fire in water, so it's the fire in emotion.
Hot steam.
Yes, hot-tempered, very short fuse, they say. So they tend to have, since fire is the sort of the element of vision, then they tend to put the vision outside a lot. And Pitta is this typical person that thinks that everything that happens to me is because somebody did it to me. So they tend to blame the outside. It's because of the society. It's because the neighbor did that, and they can never auto-reflect, let's say. We're obviously exaggerating, talking about the most Pitta ever, but instead Vata is more self-reflective, so they will sort of blame themselves. They are the kind of people that it's my fault and sort of fall into blame. Pitta will do the opposite. No, it's because of people that I did this, or that I act like this, or that I get angry. I get angry because of the other person. And
Yeah. We've all got one person like that in our lives, where it's like, well, they shouldn't have annoyed me. And I was like, well, yeah, but did you need to slap them?
Or what part of this is your creation, right? What did I do maybe to have this response? Well, that is something that is really good to invite Pitta people to consider. What part of this that happens to you was actually brought on by you? You know, it's sort of the reflect on your own part of all of this. So that's a really interesting teaching for the Pittas. So the Pittas will be the more medium-sized of the three doshas. So they will have medium-sized body, not too tall, not too short, not too fat, not too big and not too small. It's a medium-sized body. They have a great metabolism because of this fire. In this dosha, the fire is really on. So they can eat almost whatever they want, and they will digest it, and it will go through them. And they don't store fat, so these people eat, and they don't tend to generate a lot of body fat. What they do is they actually build muscle really easily. More than build muscle, they just have muscles, like naturally marked muscles. Did you see those people that just, they have maybe abs, and you go like, oh, do you work out? Like, no, they just, they're there. I don't know.
Those people. Yeah, let's not talk about those people.
Right.
Gotcha.
Everybody hates those people. But it's true. There's people, or maybe people that go to a couple of gym classes, and they start marking up, and it's the natural capacity of their body, because they have bodies sort of prepared to go to work, prepared to run, prepared to action. They're very action-prone people. They tend to have blemishes or really redness in their skin, some skin problems. It's the dosha that has the most sort of skin manifestations, because when the body the fire in the body is exacerbated, it tends to show through the skin. So you will have problems like rosacea, blemishes, maybe like little, I can't find the word, like freckles. Redness. Well, freckles and moles are really typical of Pitta. In their skin, they have a lot of moles, they have a lot of freckles. The blonde hair is also very typical of Pitta. So there's a saying that many of my teachers used to say, that every blonde is a pita. And it's like that. Maybe they also have others, but it's definitely pita. And the most pita thing is the redhead. So if you're ginger, that is very pita, because it's the fire, it's the color of the fire out in the body. About digestion, they have a really good digestion. They have really a big appetite and a big thirst. So they drink a lot and they eat a lot, and they need to eat and to drink to sort of feel balanced. They get angry if they don't eat. Like an empty stomach is an angry pita. So angry. Hungry, exactly. Well, my partner is super pita. Like he literally gets hungry. He tells me I'm hungry, so he gets angry for hungry. And it's very pita. He needs to follow every meal. These people will. Well, I would say that these people are the most organized and the more maybe protocolar people. Gotcha. Not because of attachment to change, because that would be more a kapha thing, but because they tend to be very resolving. Like they like things to be in a very efficient way. They're very efficient people. In fact, these are people who usually dedicate their lives to their work, and they're almost always leaders or bosses in their jobs, so they're really pioneers. They have this fire that allows them to sort of set a goal and just go straight to it, no matter what it takes. Gotcha. Yeah, very determined.
So in terms of kind of food that is based around it, I think they're quite strong flavor orientated, aren't they? They're like hot, spicy, very sour. I'm kind of almost thinking like Szechuan, like hot and sour soup, that kind of oily and fried foods. Is that kind of more, or is that slightly over the kapha side?
Yeah, I will say that the oily is more for a kapha, but the
fried food.
Pita people do like salty, with like a lot of salt, like spices. They like everything that is warming. They like everything that is acidic, because it sort of fuels that fire even more and more. But actually, that is what sets them on fire. So you can see, and also alcohol, like pita people are really prone to alcohol. I think that is very interesting, because in Ireland, the characteristic, the body type of the people is very pita. Everybody is very pita, because if with the gingerness and everything. And this is why there's such a big problem with alcoholism, because that type of personality looks for the alcohol. And did you see the typical people that drinks a glass of wine and their face turned red?
Red face.
Red. Yeah, that is very pita. So we can see that. Or when they eat spicy food, or when they eat, for example, me with a predominance of vata, if I eat spices or drink alcohol, my face never gets red for that. Like unless I'm embarrassed or something, I don't have that. But I have my uncle and my granddad actually, which they start eating and they start getting red. So their fire is fueled by these flavors. They will prefer this, but for them it's also better to have cooling foods. So everything that has drinks with ice, everything that is cooling is going to help them. It's not good to drink iced water or iced whatever, because that fire is actually really good for digestion, but it is good for them in the summer. And this is where we start linking with the seasons. In the summer, they will get more heat, plus their internal heat. So these people will enjoy a lot having ice cream, because ice cream is also sweet. Sweet flavors will be good for them. Sweet and cooling. So all of that fried food.
And the fats in ice cream.
Yes, but fats are not such a problem for pita, because they will not tend to accumulate the fat, and they really have a good sort of dissolving of the foods, and they are able to absorb what they need and to get rid of what they don't. So it's not really bad, and dairy is not really bad for pita either. It's sort of cooling. Did you see when you eat something spicy and they say that you have to drink milk afterwards to sort of cut the spice?
I've never had that problem. I'm pretty kind of immune to spice, so
And you like it?
But yeah. My other half, however, giving him bread, giving him milk, anything to get rid of the spice.
But you like it because you have pitta.
I'm a pitta kapha. I'm a mixture of pitta and kapha.
Yeah.
With a bit of a vata brain every now and again. But,
but because this is when because that's where the prana aspects come in. Because you can be a pitta kapha, but then you can have more of a sattvic. We're going to see the sattva, the gunas, right? And we're going to talk about that, right?
If we've got time, we've got 15 minutes left, so we'll need to move on.
Okay, so we're going to...
let's go with kapha.
Yeah, let's go to kapha. So we painted this airy person, this fiery person, and now we're putting kapha, which is a combination of water and earth. So it's a water that instead of being combined with fire, where we have fiery emotions, it's an earthy emotion. And it's a water that tends to sort of be still, right? And sometimes it's so still that it becomes, what happens with water when you leave it there and you don't touch it?
Stagnant.
It becomes stagnant, exactly. So they can become stagnated. And they have a lot of earth. So the good thing about this bodies, well, first of all, the body type. The body type, it's going to be big bone people, big people. Obviously, obesity is sort of an imbalance of kapha. But it's not necessarily, they don't have to be obese or fat people. The kaphas is just the part of us that is more sturdy, big boned. They actually have the best of the skin types. The kapha skin is one of the best because it tends to be very pale and sort of, and it's not that translucent like the vata skin. It's a thick skin, but it's very clean. They rarely have any breakouts, or they have really lustrous skin, let's say. So it's sometimes they have like wide faces or rounded faces. They tend to be slower. Everything in them is slower. So the metabolism is also slower. They will eat and they will take really long to digest. They can also be constipated, but not exactly because of dryness, but mostly because of a sluggish
digestion.
Yeah, and this type of stagnation too. They will tend in their temperament to get to go too much to the comfort zone. So it's difficult for them to make changes, to take adventures, to sort of put at stake what they have, you know. It's people who who enjoy a lot having friends and family and their relationships. They're very dependable, but also depending. So they depend emotionally. They have emotional attach. It's more about if we said that Vata focuses on the future, Pitta focuses on the present because they want to achieve their goals, but they know how to. And Kapha focuses on the past, on the memories, on the nostalgia. And what else? Flavors. Obviously, they will tend to. What is the emotional resource best for when you're sad or when you're in your period or like that?
Cheese.
Sweet. Chocolate. Everything that is fat and lustrous and very heavy. So even in vegetables, we can find things like avocado, for example, that are heavy, papaya. So heavy and sweet and oily. This is their favorite. But obviously this will sort of, it will increase this sort of lethargy. So the more sweets, the more you stay. So for them, it's actually really good to eat spices, to eat savory, to eat anything that is energetic and can help them move. Bitters are also really good for kapha because they will help with their digestion.
With the digestion.
Exactly. Bitters help the liver to produce bile. and that helps digestion. So yeah, that is kapha. Do you want to talk a little bit about the three gunas, the three pranas?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of time for gunas.
Okay, so they're very fast, just to link them in. The gunas are the three aspects of nature then, and they're related with prana, so they're related with the psychological traits. And as gunas we have rajas guna, sattvas, and tamas. So rajas, it's going to be a very fast, it's prone to action again. It's a psychology that is very active. It's over the top. So this is the one that will sort of turn to be aggressive and competitive and wanting always the best. It's an excessive activity. It's the people who cannot wait and reflect at all. So everything has to happen quickly. It's sometimes, because you can be a Pitta and you can have Rajas Guna, so then you will be like an unstoppable train. You know, you will just go, and it doesn't matter the means justify the goals. So it's that kind of personality. Then we have Sattvas, which is, let's just talk about the opposite. Rajas, and the opposite is Tamas. Tamas is inertia. The word means inertia. So that means that you're always coming back to the same point. You try to move and you are pulled back. You're always pulled back to the comfort zone. So this will be people that, whilst the Rajas goes out of the comfort zone, they go for the world, they go at it, but in a very over-the-top way. Tamas is the opposite. Tamas wants to stay in the comfort zone. We all have also the three gunas, and you can see them in yourself. The moments where you are actually better staying where you are and you don't want to take risks. And in yoga, tamas is the sort of the lowest state, because a person that is in tamas cannot see themselves. They cannot see. It's like they don't have any self-awareness, so they will act in herds. They're very easily sort of manipulated because they don't have a will on their own. So if people will say, you should go this way, they will go that way. So it's this is the state that yoga tries to wake you up from your tamas. And tamas is full of denial. So people who is deeply into tamas would deny that they are in that state. Because it's better to protect who I am than to accept that I'm wrong. Because if I accept that I'm wrong, then my whole life has to change. So it's that type of position. So in yoga and Ayurveda, what we try to do is, the first thing you try to bring is the person from tamas to rajas. Because you try to put them in action. So start the action. Start taking this piece, start eating these plants, start seeing what happens. Because you cannot go from tamas to sattvas, which is the center, is the equilibrium. You cannot go from tamas to sattvas. You really have to activate yourself first. And then you are up there in the rajas, they try to calm you down. So you can come to a state of sattvas. Sattvas is the state of reflection, is the state of meditation, when you can start taking responsibility from your life, from your actions, and considering others too. So see how you can start combining those three doshas with the three rajas. So for example, in your case, Paul, if you said to us that you're a Pitta Kapha, then does that mean that you are a Tamas Rajas? No, because when we practice spirituality and self-awareness and everything, we tend to go to a state of sattva. So he can be a Pitta Kapha with a sattvic type of thought. So and you can be a Vata, so a person with a lot of mental activity, but that is in tamas. So all that mental activity is going to be used for tamastic behaviors. So you're going to have a competitive person, a person that tries to take advantage, a person that is, I don't know, uses their intelligence and everything, but in the wrong way, for the wrong reasons, and also with a lack of awareness. So we see this a lot, like tamas, vata behaviors in like forums in the internet, in places where people just talk and repeat what other people say. So it's using your intellect in a tamastic way. This is very, very complex. It's a very, it's a science, right? It's a science of behavior and science of life. So I know it's very complex, and it will take hours and hours to sort of get into every example. But I hope you can sort of grasp a little with what I explained today.
Yeah, or at least can kind of relate that back to some of the other things that we've talked about, because we've kind of talked about several different elemental systems, and you kind of can start seeing the links between when we're talking about pitta, the links to kind of towards fire, and when we're talking about vata, the links towards air in kind of more Greek kind of orientation. So it kind of helps you kind of bridge that gap and jump over to Ayurveda if you want to, with that kind of that slight link.
And tomorrow we're presenting an infographic where if you heard these descriptions and you sort of can feel that you have an excess of some of these doshas, you can have then a tea that will decrease that dosha. Careful with that, because we made a graphic that says a tea to decrease kapha, a tea to decrease pitta, and a tea to decrease vata. So these teas are only to have when you feel that you have an imbalance of that element, of that dosha. It's not like it's going to make your dosha better, because that is a very easy confusing thing. It's like, okay, so I'm pitta, and so spices are good for me, because they are the flavor that is related to my dosha. And in Ayurveda, it's the opposite. You sort of have to cool it down with something that is opposite.
They talk about aggravating and pacifying, don't they? Things that aggravate the thing make it worse, and things that pacify. So when we're kind of saying that they were linked, we were talking about the things that aggravate that dosha. So like increases like. So spicy food increases fire, and you can also use the previous infographic that we did with the elemental piece linked with this, because if you have an excess of pitta, like an excess of fire, you will try to maybe find air or find an earth tea to sort of pull it down. So you can start trying these infusions that we propose you. Good. Well, I think we should end there, because we're just coming up to about past. So thank you so much for that. I've taken a ton of notes, so I'm hoping everyone else did. Certainly helped me kind of fill in some of the blanks that I had around Ayurveda. So hopefully that will be helpful to everyone. Like we said, there's going to be a post tomorrow on our Instagrams on both lucianaberchi.holistic and modern.witchery for kind of a little bit of kind of an overview with those juices, teas, to kind of help balance or aggravate certain things in your composition. If there's any questions around that, please just feel. Sorry, I'm laughing. If you're watching this on the recording, we're laughing because it's like, hi, I'm Luciana Father, so it just made me laugh a bit. So thanks for that. Hello, Luciana's father. So if there's any questions around that, feel free to drop them on that post as comments, or feel free to reach out to one of us, normally Luciana for the Ayurveda, but we can talk and converse together with it. So the next session is in 2 weeks. It's not next week, it's the week after. We do every other Friday, and that is a kind of a nice summarization session where we're starting to talk about elements in the body, as well as look at a me a tarot reading that can help kind of diagnose those things in a spiritual kind of way. You can follow lucianaberchi.holistic at her Instagram. You can follow me on my Instagram. You can go and check our YouTube channels out, and feel free to reach out for any of our little holistic-y services if need be. Anything to add?
If you like this video, please share it, because we would like to be able to chat and to receive questions and just to sort of expand what we do with more people. So please share the infographics for more people to know all this science of occult herbalism.
Brilliant. Excellent. So lovely speaking to you as always, Luciana. I shall speak to you in a couple of weeks live.
Lovely speaking to you too. Thank you so much for being here, and you can see this recording.
Always.
So see you next time, guys.
Speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.